I don't know. I guess what I see as ripple effects too is just the parking lot meetings, the library where I got pulled into the library to talk to those women, the little whispers in the fellowship hall. I mean, they are just, anytime on Sunday mornings, anytime somebody can come in to Jim, I'm sure his whole Sunday morning is just filled with anxiety after anxiety after anxiety after anxiety. I can't tell you how many times I heard him say the other day, you just got to trust the process. Like, I know that I hear you, but we just have to trust the process and trust that we made the right decision. And people are like, they can't. They walk away from Jim saying, and Jim has to just end the conversation because there's nothing, he's going to go do the next service. So there's nothing he can do, but, the battle cry I keep hearing is, we've already done this before, it has never worked before, why will it work this time? We've already done this before, it's never worked before. Nothing's going to change, nothing's going to change, nothing's going to change. So,
So, what's the process look like from here, from the consultant's point of view?
So they did that. They'll come back, from what I understand, they'll come back in September. We'll do a whole weekend where the consultant team meets with leaders of the church. Like, I think every group has to have a meeting with them. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. I think at one point we all come together on a Saturday and talk about stuff. Then we enter a either 60 or 90-day praying period. Oh wait, before that weekend in the summertime, we're going to have to do a praying process of some sort, whatever that looks like for our church, where we're intentionally praying for either 60 or 90 days prior to that weekend for our church, for for God to move and stuff. And then after that weekend, then there's another maybe 60 days or some number of days where they take back what they heard from that weekend, they pray about it, we continue to pray about it, and then they come forward and they say, based on what we've heard, here are seen, researched, your stats and stuff, here are 5 recommendations, and then we vote on them. Whether we either vote yes, we'll accept it, or no.
So the whole congregation votes on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you're more or less at the beginning of the process.
Right. And I think once right now, people just don't even understand the process, and so that's where a lot of the anxiety is. They don't understand what we're doing, and Jim's doing a good job of, explaining it, and people will ask me, I can explain it to the best of my abilities, because it is a little bit confusing. But yeah, we're just at the beginning. So, like I said, I really kind of do feel like this is a pruning, because I don't think it's going to get any easier before it gets any worse. So. But, yeah. It's coming out, I wrote one of my process reflections on the meeting that Jill decided to quit being late interrupter. I don't feel anxious. When people are anxious about it, I'm not anxious about the NLI process. It's going to happen. It's going to be what it is, what it's going to be. Not that I'm insensitive to what they're feeling, but I'm not anxious about it. What I have a problem with is staying connected to their anxiety. Does that make sense? When they're blowing up and freaking out, and in that meeting where they were yelling at Jim, I just want to be just get out. I'm just no thank you, I don't, you guys are being ridiculous, this is being with 2-year-olds, and my 2-year-old behaves better than you, you guys are dumb, just trust the process, get over it. Yeah, that's when I'm having a hard time, and I don't see that as being anxious, I just see that as being I'm just irritated at them, I just want them to just get over it, there's nothing you can do, just like radical acceptance. Like, let's just all radically accept that this is going to happen to us, and we're just here for the ride. Let's just accept it. Okay, we can't do anything in it. You're on the roller coaster. You have been strapped in. You just got to go at this point. And so I'm having a hard time, like, being patient and listening to their anxiety. And maybe that is my own anxiety that I just am, like, refusing to name, but I don't feel anxious. Like, my heart doesn't start racing. I just feel like I just want to be like, let's just cut this off and come back to me when you're ready to ride the roller coaster, you know?
Yeah. So, would you say that was distancing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure. If I had to pick one of the things, it'd be distancing.
Yeah. So you're aware of that, but it also sounds like you're not giving in to that, or are you?
I think in committee meetings, I definitely am. In committee
Sure, shut
meetings,
down.
Jim's kind of pointed it out to me before.
You check.
I check out, and then if I do check back in, it's just to kind of make a grumpy, like, grump at them, and then, which isn't helpful, and I recognize that, and so, you know, I tried so hard at that committee meeting to stay present and connected, but it just, God, I can't even really tell you what Angela and Jill got into. Like, that's how disconnected I was from it. Like, I can't.
Wow.
It's just like, and they were sitting both next to me. Jill was on one side and Angela was on the other, so I was kind of faking it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm listening, but I don't know.
You were on vacation.
Yeah, I was.
Mentally.
Yeah,
anyway.
mentally, I was like, welcome back. So, yeah, I'm definitely distancing. So I guess that is me being anxious in a different sort of way.
So what guiding principle do you think you could have that would acknowledge that when you're aware that you're checking out, you're distancing, you're mentally somewhere else? Anything you think of that would help you pull yourself back into
I mean, I think maybe not a guiding
relationships?
principle, but just, I mean, a guiding principle could be, you know, when a person is sharing their anxiety, you know, seek to hear, like, their truth, or seek to hear the kernel in that, you know what I mean? And maybe for me, that practice would look like, okay, when things are getting heated, for me, a thing that works, because I'm not super auditory, learner, would just be to write down what I'm hearing. What are you hearing? As, you know, Angela says, that not to use in any way, just to toss it out at the end of the meeting, but that way I can stay involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like just the way Jim's sermons, I always take notes on his sermons. Like, that's how I stay involved in anybody's sermons for the most part. If I have a piece of paper, I prefer to take notes about someone's sermon than just to sit and listen. So it might be a practice, but just, I guess for me, a guiding principle would be when someone is presenting me with their anxiety and it looks like an argument, or when I'm presented with an argument, try to find the anxiety. I think it's probably a better way of putting it. Because I think when I'm hearing arguing or things that I would say is just like pettiness, I just hear that and I just shut off. And I don't seek to find, like, okay, but what is that person really saying? Like, what are they really anxious about?
Right.
And how can I, as a minister, as someone who cares for them, as someone who's been called to lead them, hear that? You know, what's that kernel? How can I work with it?
Well, I like one of the ones that you've already developed, which is try to view everyone as being created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so if people are anxious or people are arguing or, which makes me uncomfortable, how do I still see them as being God's child, and what are they really trying to say to me or say to each other? Or,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think it's really important, or a really good practice is to observe process.
Mm-hmm.
And, when people are going back and forth and debating or arguing, just being able to observe that, and then to be able to kind of name it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Just stepping back, being
Mm-hmm.
as emotionally neutral as possible, and say, it seems like the two of you have some very different, very passionate opinions about such and such. And I just want to observe that you've been debating this point now for 15 minutes, or whatever it's been. And I just, is that best use of our time?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, is that going to move us forward,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, I'm just curious about how you see this exchange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do wonder if that would work, often because I'm not leading those meetings. So I don't know if Jim would let me play that role, or if he would be like, stop. I mean, he might not. He's pretty passive-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say passive's not the right way. He just spends a lot of time listening to people. I think he is listening and observing and just kind of giving space for people to air their grievances. I mean, even in the meeting, I do remember people would be like, we've done this before, nothing has ever changed, and blah, blah, and Jim was like, yeah, I hear you, I hear that's frustrating, and I'm sorry that you feel this way, but, we've committed to this process, and I'm really hoping that I can change myself so that I can help us move forward as a church to the next steps and stuff, so, I don't know, maybe just even asking him, like, is that your goal in these meetings, just to let people, because maybe even if I knew that was the goal, if that was Jim's goal, was just to let the leaders share their grievances, just to let it get out in that space, it might make me feel more invested in what's going on, versus me thinking we're coming in to have, like, a business meeting, and then all of a sudden we get derailed by, like, these things, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with why we're here in this meeting, and it's irritating me, and I don't want to be here. Like, if I can say, well, maybe Jim, maybe not even asking him, or asking him, maybe Jim's just trying to make space for that to happen here, as opposed to in parking lots, or in fellowship hall, or in the church library, I think he might, maybe he's not, but.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's worthwhile asking Jim, how do you see the goals, and I want to be an observer of process and just be able to bring things up that I observed. Is that okay with you if I do that? And some of the things that I would want to make note of, that at least as the way you report it, is sometimes the congregational members' use of absolute language.
Mm-hmm.
We've done this before. It never works. And just be able to point out to people, that language is very powerful. So are you saying that there's no process then that you think would work for this congregation moving forward? Are there no resources that we should tap? Because we've done all of it before.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious what your thoughts about that are. Or to be able to say, so, when was the last time that you tried using an outside resource?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that was 15 years ago.
I don't think they've ever used an outside resource.
Okay.
They've never used one, so everything they've tried to do in-house, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and be able to say, you know, I wonder what it is about. I mean, is there something that you just do not want to share with somebody who's coming with some objectivity?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just curious about what that means.
Mhm.
Is that, are you afraid of that? If somebody from the outside with some objectivity may not think you're great in
Mhm.
church? I mean, well, what is that fear about?
Yeah. Is it okay to not be, you know? Is it okay to not be what we think we are? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real challenge working in a highly anxious system.
It is. And I think my two things I'm going to have to fight are checking out, because I mean, I'm like sad CPE's ending, because it's kind of given me, I probably haven't thought of it this way, but it has kind of given me an ability to distance in a way that is acceptable. Got to be here all day Monday. On Wednesdays, I would leave and I would go back home. So I was really only in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And now I'm going to go back and be there Sunday through Thursday. And so I won't have that buffer anymore. And so, you know, how do I keep engaged, but how do I also not do the thing where I'm engaging in building that social collateral in negative ways? So I think that'll be a challenge for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think it'd be a challenge for anyone, you know. I think it's really easy for leadership in situations like this to do one or two things. One is just to give up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a sense, and say, all right, you know, I just, and do that distancing or that under-functioning line, you know, it's not worth it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And the other thing is that it can, also the anxiety can be so pervasive that leadership always is acting out of a crisis mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Which in itself can be sort of, at least in my experience, more of a perpetuating idea. You know, if you think everything is a crisis, well then everything is a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you if you see things more as opportunities for clarity, opportunities for engagement and openness, even if they're difficult,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not really acting out of a crisis mentality.
Right. Be interesting. Going back full time. I mean, I guess I can just look at these next few months as just a really, like you said, like an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to observe, an opportunity to practice the leadership skills I've gained here, and you know, hopefully in some way help them. But if not, at least I'll be, you know, helping myself become a better minister.
Yeah, and I think our personal, pastoral, and professional formation is always important to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do nothing else for anybody else out there, then, you know, I do have the ability to work on myself.
Yeah. I think that'll be key to also keeping the anxiety at bay. Because, like you just named, I think for me the two tendencies are going to be to distance and underfunction, or to get wrapped up in the chatter, and just to have my own anxiety just ratchet it up and ratchet it up and ratchet it up. And just, yeah.
Yeah, but it can also be a real exciting challenge, I think, too, depending on your perspective.
Well, I mean, I think those are the
think
two
that's-
tendencies that I could go to.
Sure.
But I think my dream would be to come in and just be present, be fully present, listen, ask questions, and then not say, how can I change the system, but how can I change myself within that system to help it. Hopefully I can't change
Mm-hmm.
the lay people. I can't change the way they engage, I can't change the way that they want to talk to me or the way things that they want to bring up or, the triangles that they want to create for me. But I can work on myself so that I don't put myself in those, triangles or, just share with them, like, I'm sorry, maybe that's the way that you've engaged clergy previously.
Right.
That's no comment on previous clergy, but I'm not interested in doing it that way.
Mm.
But I'm here for you. Let's figure out a new way to do it. Let's figure out a healthier way to do it. So I hope that I can cling to that, and of course I'll have days where, like Sean said, it'll be like an action, like climbing on a ladder on an action movie where the rung just falls and you go, through chutes and ladders. I'm sure I'll have days where I do better and days where I don't, but that's really my hope in going through these next few months, is that I can help ease the anxiety in my own life and in the life of the church and not create it or distance from it. So.
If that's your hope, that's my hope for you too.
Thanks. Yeah. It'll be fun. I think it'll be a great learning process. I can't wait to know what I'll be saying 10 years from now. Like, oh man, remember that time at Leesburg? Yeah, that's good. I learned how to do this and this and this. So,
Yeah.
that'll be good. In its own way. I'm almost done.
Yep.
Last one. When's your next batch of people?
Fall. Back in September.
Okay,
I'm not
so
gonna do a summer
not a
program.
summer one.
Yeah.
Take a little break.
I'm taking a break to write papers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Write papers for you. So then hopefully you'll write the papers and then you won't have to report to Kenton or anything. You'll be your...
No.
Are you reporting to him anyways?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have supervision with him,
Okay.
like you have.
With you.
Yeah. And, but the papers go with other material to, ultimately to a committee that
Okay.
I'll have to meet with and pass a...
Could you even be a chaplain without doing all this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, like I'm a board certified chaplain in the Association of Professional Chaplains, which is another group, and they work closely with ACP
Mm-hmm.
and share some of the same standards
Mm-hmm.
and outcomes, and but to be a chaplain educator
Yeah.
is to go through all of this.
It's a lot. It's a lot to do.
It
And don't
is.
you have your doctorate too?
Mm-hmm.
I got a thing. Went on, my birthday was this past week, and I got a card from someone, and the inside they tucked in, like the little day calendars that you rip off one. So they ripped off the day for mine that said something like, the best thing about education is no one can ever take learning away from you, or something, and that you continually grow. I was like, oh, that's a nice thought. I haven't committed it to memory yet, but kind of you're just going, continually learning. Do you feel like that?
Evidently, I like
Yeah,
it.
you love it. Yep, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It is a good
It's
thing.
a good, yeah, you can stay at school,
Yeah.
or be a perpetual student.
Yeah,
It's a good thing.
it is. It's hard to balance with all the other things, but I've enjoyed this experience. I've enjoyed learning, and kind of think I forgot how much I liked doing this kind of stuff, although it's different now and it's a little bit harder and more challenging with family and a full-time job, but I really haven't enjoyed it.
Good.
I hope that I can keep up with it in some way, if not immediately following, but I don't know if that's going to look like another unit of CPE or what. I don't know, if I did another unit of CPE, I'd be like, I only want to do your unit if you do Bowen theory. I'm not really interested in trying to learn a whole new theory. So if that's not what you're doing, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I just like it. I think that it speaks to me a lot more than I expected. So.
Okay. Well, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next Monday.
All right.